Howdy ho, good neighbors. What's going on? It's Phil Russert. Special episode of Creatorcon Q&A. I kind of thought about this morning, and the first person I want to reach out to is my guest today, my co-host. As I'm chugging along, pushing Philbo Publishing this year, a lot of things have come up. I learned a lot about the industry, and, you really see a lot of the things that are going on in the background and the other side and how other parts work and mechanisms work together. And there's always debates about what's the right way to go, what's the wrong way to go. There's really no right answer. It really depends on your business model, what your goals are, etc. But we thought we'd talk about it today. And maybe some of you have questions and maybe we can answer them. Maybe we don't know and we'll find out together. Or maybe some of you will give us some insight. But we're going to hang out. We're going to talk about it. This is not a complaint fest. This is to be objective about the options that are before us because we are to stay positive and we stay to work hard. I'm not going to lie. It is very difficult in this industry for the little guy to get ahead, but it is not impossible. Everybody started somewhere. So we're going to talk about that. Marvin, how are you, man? Thanks for coming out. Raphael, what's going on? Yes, it's Friday the 13th. That's right. I wore my flannel in honor. Which is funny because my co-host is a big horror fan. And, we'll talk a little about that too and our projects. But we're going to get into it. So share this out. Let everybody know we're here because I'd love to get into a conversation about this. I'd love for people to be in the chat and interacting with us about their questions, their thoughts, their feelings. If you're an independent creator and you got your book and you're crowdfunding or you're thinking of crowdfunding, we might have a lot of useful information for you or, maybe help you figure out what your plan of attack is going to be because there's so many things that you can do and not everything is so linear. You can take pieces and move things around and do stuff. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on one of the owners of Flash Delirium LLC, who happens to have an indie book that I think it's a crime if you don't know about it because it's really, really good. It's called Rabbit's Badass Song. Without further ado, my co-host, Christopher Elston.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
What's going on? You got Star Wars in the background. You're all good with me.
Yeah, and now the good Star Wars, mind you.
That's right. Hey, Carlos, what's going on, buddy? So how you doing, man? Thanks for coming on. I reached out to you this morning and said, hey, why don't we do this? Because you and I talk about this all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, who better to bring upon the show, bring on the show, and let's talk about it. So before we start, why don't you tell us about Flash Delirium LLC and what you got going on, that you can talk about so people kind of have an idea of your background and where you're coming from.
Well, I'm one half. My fiance, Chassie Lassiter, is the other half of our company, Flash Delirium. I believe this is we're going our second year now with the company. We launched last year. We did a one-shot called Pop Singer, which was a horror story about the rise and fall of a pop singer and her ties to Illuminati and stuff. How it actually became demons and all that.
Right.
Then we went into our current story, Rabbit's Badass Song, which is pretty much starts out as a crime exploitation type story that kind of evolved to a more darker superhero story. And we just completed the third Kickstarter. And we're going to be fulfilling that in February. So after that, we're actually at a stopping point with the comic book, and we're actually going to go back to our original goal, which was to get into more films. And we're shooting a couple of shorts now, and we're actually in early pre-production of a feature that will hopefully be starting to shoot the end of this year with a release date for next year.
Very cool. So you have the publishing aspect and you have the film aspect, which I think is great because one of the things I think people have to understand is when you're publishing, you have to have other revenue streams, whether it's multiple titles or film or board games or something, toys, right. Toy lines, that's huge. Obviously, that's not easy at this level, but that is something to achieve too. So now that we have a little bit of an idea of, who you are, what your background is, I want to get into what we're talking about with publishing, self-publishing versus third-party publishing, etc. And what I mean by third-party publishing is, when you got your book and you're shopping it to Scout or Image or Antarctic Press or Aftershock or Source Point Press, Dark Horse. There's a lot of places. The first thing I want to define is DC and Marvel they don't normally buy your character. They come up with their own. But if they would buy it and own the rights, and you might get some royalties in the contract, but you no longer can create your comic book. You sold it, it's theirs. These other companies like Image, etc., the reason why they're independent is because you keep your creator-owned rights. They take percentages on sales, they get royalties, but you keep your own creator rights, which means you continue to pay for your own production of the book. And they use their distribution avenues and their marketing and their label to help bring followers and fans to you, but you still have to market on your own, etc. So we're kind of going to get into self-publishing versus that. You and I both self-publishers right now. I know that I've spent a lot of time, not a lot of time, but some time in the beginning was shopping to other companies. And there were various reasons that again, we don't know if they're the real reasons or not, but this is the reasons I received. The biggest hitch for me is that tragedy is an ongoing series. And SourcePoint Press and Image and all these companies, they're not looking for ongoing series. They want self-contained 5-issue arcs. If it does well, maybe they move forward. The reason for that is the investment they're putting in, right? It's risk versus reward. So the print runs are more manageable when it's 5 issues and done. And also they're not locked into any contracts for a long term and the book is failing or, so that they're managing their finances well. And then they're like, hey, if the first 5-issue thing did well, you can launch a second volume, so to speak, but it's not necessarily this continuing thing. It's a self-contained story, etc. So that's one of the things that I run into as a problem. And it seems to be the reason that everybody's, at the beginning said they weren't interested. They said the book looked beautiful, it was professional, interesting story, but either they just didn't want superheroes right now or they didn't want an ongoing series. So as a self-publisher, okay, we're going to get into self-indie publishing. Right now we have crowdfunding, and then we have the possibility of distribution. There are 3 distribution companies. The big ones, Diamond, which used to be the monopoly, Lunar, and Penguin House. Diamond still has Image and other smaller companies. Lunar now has DC, and they do like Merc magazine and stuff. And Penguin House has IDW, Dark Horse, and Marvel. And Penguin House was been around for a long time, is very reputable for books. Now they're in the comic realm. I'm sorry for the long-winded. I'm just trying to share these things so people understand and follow along with what we're talking about. So as a small publisher, it's not easy to get distribution because you have to submit to them and they have to deem that it's worthy, just like any publisher would, right? And if the distributor says, yes, we'll take you on, we'll get into that later, but then they get you into Previews Magazine where local comic shops can order your book. But right now, the most common avenue for us is crowdfunding. Now, before I get into my thoughts on crowdfunding, I want to ask you, has crowdfunding's intention changed over the years?
I believe so. Because, Kickstarter was the first one, right? Then we got Indiegogo and stuff. And it's just the name, Kickstarter. It's to kickstart, your project, it was never designed originally, I feel, to be something that you use on a consecutive basis. Like, it's not a business plan. Originally a lot of people were, they had an idea for a project, not necessarily just comics. I know board games is a big one too, or whatever the case may be. And they may need a little extra money to get it done for whatever reason. So they went online, and it was a good way to kind of see who had interest in it and they could back it. And in return, they got an incentive, right? A good way to kind of
sorry, didn't turn my volume off. I'm sharing this out. Go ahead.
And that's how it went. I got to know the whole history behind, when comic books really became popular, on the Kickstarter platform. But it seems somewhere down the line, people started using it to it was like that was their business plan, right? They would use it to fund every issue. It was never. I don't think a lot of people were thinking, okay, I'm gonna use this to get a couple issues done. Hope I make enough money so now I can do bigger print runs and hopefully leave that platform and go into just actual proper distribution.
Right.
And another problem is anybody can do Kickstarter now. Now you get Indiegogo, and you got all these other things, and you got so many people doing this. It's become oversaturated. So I think the biggest problem with the crowdfunding is this oversaturation. There's just too many books out there right now.
I agree. I agree with every sentiment you've said. It has changed. It's not meant to be a distribution platform. The other thing with crowdfunding, unless you're a big name, and there are exceptions, of course, but unless you're a big name like Billy Tucci, Ethan Van Sciver, or Brian Polito, where you had success in mainstream or you've been building for 30 years, the average person on a campaign, usually, a couple thousand, maybe 10, 15,000. You're not really making a lot of money. By the time Kickstarter gets their 11%, and you have your print costs for stretch goals as well as the books, and foils are expensive and everything, it's really, you're not making much, and it goes back into the next book. But Kickstarter doesn't allow you to do multiple campaigns in a month, and they want you to fulfill one before the other. Now, the pros to Kickstarter, I think, are, yes, you can make money right away. How much really depends on how good your property is, how much your following is, etc., as opposed to distribution. But you're limited on how much you can put out. If you have multiple titles, as you want to be a publisher, it's very hard. It's a very slow process. Like for a guy like me with an ongoing series, if I have several ongoing series and I can only do one Kickstarter a month, but I can't really launch the next one until this one's fulfilled because backers don't like that. They get upset. Those are the cons, right? So your schedule is so slow. But if I have 26 scripts written for tragedy in crowdfunding, by the time I get to them, it'll be 7 years from now. Will people still be there? Because, look at Image. When they were late by a month or two, they were losing out. People were falling off and saying, forget it. You have to be in people's faces 24/7 with everything. You have to saturate is a word you used before, but in a good way. Like streaming shows, Disney, they're saturating the market, right? They're just throwing stuff at you left and right that they're always in your mind. You always have them in your forefront, right? Hey, Bobby, what's going on? So, they'll complain, and everybody complains and moans about these streaming, but they're still watching them, and they're still talking about them, right? And then when they die out, you go to the next series. And when the talking dies out, you go to the next series. Whether it was Moon Knight, then to She-Hulk, then to Ben Kenobi, then whatever, But with Kickstarter, it's a slow dribble. Hey, Rally, thanks for coming out. Hope you don't mind me tagging you. I put out a comic. It's a month campaign. Even if you short it to 3 weeks, it's 2 weeks to get paid by Kickstarter. And then you've got to go through the fulfillment. And a lot of times now, printers are getting slower and slower, in my opinion.
Oh, yes.
Know
about that.
Yeah, they're getting slower and slower. Like the printer I'm using is a great printer. They're great with communication. They're great quality and probably the best prices. But I think they're growing faster than they've staffed themselves for. And maybe they don't have enough printers. And now they're just really slow. And that's hard for a guy like me because it's already slow. Every 3 months I can put out a book on Kickstarter. And it's tough because, again, the fans will be like, well, you didn't fulfill tragedy yet, so why am I going to get dynamics? Well, I fulfilled tragedy 4 times in a row with no issue. Trust me, because how long can I wait to put out another book? Then I can't put out multiple titles. So I think that's a con to Kickstarter or crowdfunding. But a pro is that you can make money on it.
Oh, yeah.
But again, what are you looking at? Quarterly book? How much do you have to start over each time to get that audience back when it's every 3 months? People don't remember. They move on. I don't remember what happened in issue 1. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Kickstarter say 2 weeks, but they often take 3 weeks. They don't take your money instantly. That's the thing, Rally. Kickstarter doesn't take your money right away. It doesn't take it until the end of the campaign. So if you pledge on day one, it doesn't take your money off of your credit card or whatever you put on file until the 30-day campaign is up, or whatever amount of days you do. Then it looks to take your money. That's what we keep telling everybody. Don't wait. Indiegogo takes your money right away. But Kickstarter does not. As a matter of fact, you could back out of Kickstarter and it can kind of screw up somebody. So that's another con. So let's talk about that. What are your experiences with backers that drop out in the last 3 hours and really make it a detriment to you funding the goal, hitting your goal? Yeah, they take it instantly after the campaign ends. Yes. But go ahead.
Well, fortunately, I know I have not had nobody back on our campaigns. Usually the ones we do small ones anyway, and it's usually the same people that be backing ours. Fortunately have not ran into that, but I have plenty of friends, and I've talked to you a lot about when that happens, and that sucks. Especially when it gets down to like that last couple of days, and like you start seeing people just drop out. Like, what do? Hopefully, that's why, I know a lot of you want, whatever your goal is, you want to be like a couple hundred or a grand.
You need a cushion. Yeah,
just so in case that does happen, you got a safety. But yeah, I never understood why, especially with the Kickstarter, because like you said, the money doesn't come out to the campaign fulfills. So if you're not sure, why would you pull out? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, or why would you pledge early and then yank it 3 minutes before the end and do that to a campaign? I've seen campaigns that were like $300 over their goal and people dropped out. Now they're like $100 and they're sweating, and it's a scary thing. Kickstarter says that they don't want you to do more than one campaign at the same time because they feel, they're worried about the integrity of the backers getting their stuff. But Kickstarter doesn't do anything when a campaign doesn't fulfill and you get robbed of your money. So it's kind of weird that they would do that. And they're worried about integrity when it comes to multiple campaigns, but they're not worried about integrity when it comes to not fulfilling the campaign. So I'm not really sure I understand that. Also, Indiegogo is kind of like an online shop in the sense that if you don't hit your goal, you go into demand, you keep going. Kickstarter, if you don't hit your goal, you don't get your money. Indiegogo takes it out right away. So those are some of the cons to crowdfunding. Now, as an indie publisher, you can go to distribution and then you get into Previews Magazine, and that's basically the catalog that the comic shop owners get with all the books. Now there's the indie section, there's DC Marvel, of course, taking up everything. I put up a post yesterday that got a lot of attention. I was glad I put it up. I debated if I should or not. An LCS owner had told me that some LCS, he said a lot, I don't know if that's true, what the percentage is, they're bitter and they don't like to order in previews if they've seen that you launched on Kickstarter first. I don't understand the mentality. I think it's kind of bitter and spiteful, honestly, and I don't know if it's good business. But again, Kickstarter is really supposed to, crowdfunding is to be able to pay for the production of the product, right? And kickstart you and get you going. So why wouldn't you do that and go into distribution? Now, when you go into distribution, you can still do crowdfunding. I mean, Brian Polito does it. A lot of other people do it. Hey, Greg Johnson, Chris Borman, I'll get to your comments in a minute. So you could do monthly distribution through Diamond, Lunar, Penguin House, although Penguin House is not likely to take on small guys like us. They're just not. They want a certain print run guaranteed that we're not going to make. Lunar, though, I hear is a little more reasonable, and Diamond, of course, lost a lot of companies. I think that they're I know they're willing to look at smaller people if it's quality stuff. But you can do Kickstarter exclusive covers for what's coming out still, and then just Kickstarter and make extra supplemental income. And those other revenue streams I talked about, like say Tragedies Monthly in comic stores. But issue 3, I have a Kickstarter for issue 3 with a rare Rob Liefeld cover that's Kickstarter exclusive only. I can do that. But what you should do, so you don't alienate or upset the local comic shops, is offer some sort of retailer option on there so they can get that cover too. And because it's rare on Kickstarter, it only helps them increase the value of that book sale and puts money in their pocket. Because at the end of the day, they're struggling. They want to make money too. And their shelf space, that's really valuable real estate for us, right? And it's valuable for them because they can't waste shelf space on things that aren't going to move. Especially since small guys like us, we're not going to offer returns. We can't. So if you're a comic shop owner, you're taking a risk on tragedy because there's no returns. Do I order 2? Do I order 4? What if only one person buys and I'm sitting on 3 issues of this obscure title, Oh, great. They came. Thank you. You know what I mean? So, sorry. So, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh, no, I was going to add to like the local comic book shops. I've never had, because I've never even had a conversation with them about the whole the Kickstarter thing. I think the reason a lot of them don't like it, a lot of them, I don't think understand it. A lot of these local comic shops been around for years. They've been around way before there was such a thing as crowdfunding. Right. So I think to them, like, oh, is this some online thing you want to put in the store? Like, there's the confusion with that. And then it's like you said, like, a lot of the comic book shops, they got to sell books. And a lot of the books they sell, it's like the incentive books, like the variants and all that kind of like limited runs, so they want, when they see like a smaller guy like us come along, they're looking at that, almost like they're speculating at that point. So, okay, this thing could blow up. So if it's a limited run, I got X amount of copies, the book blows up, I can double my money back. But if this is something they just print out online blindly, there's no value to it. I'm assuming that's how they're looking at it.
Well, I'm sure a lot of them too feel like, well, you already hit an audience. What if you hit the locals near me and now they're not going to come to the store and buy what you already sold on Kickstarter? But again, that's not necessarily true because Kickstarter goes all over the country, or you could be international. What's the chances of that many people picking up? The whole point of an LCS is, getting new readers, right? So new people walk into your store and they go, oh, what's this? I didn't know about this. Or I saw this on Kickstarter, but now that I see it in my hand, this looks interesting. So I don't know if that really applies, but the idea is we're trying to reach more people. Hey, John, Chris had said he would never thought of backing out as an option. When he orders something, I'm expecting to receive what I ordered. Yeah, Chris, we appreciate that mentality because it really, like Tragedy 3, we were at 17,000 or something. And I lost $3,500 in the last 4 days, people backing out. It was really weird. Now you could say maybe some people that don't like you set that up, which is possible. Actually, in some cases, I know it was true, but that's rough, I don't think Kickstarter is a viable thing moving forward. Hey, Jason, for growth. I mean, it's good you can get an email list. Another pro is you can get an email list off of Kickstarter, right? You can start an email list. Another pro is you can make money instantly. And if you're nobody with no following, it is a good jump start. And you can get the money for production, hopefully make enough to turn around into the next book. So there's a lot of pros to crowdfunding. But I feel you're limited. When you go to, again, because it's so slow, it's every 3 months, right? And it's the grind. And also, when you're on crowdfunding, because your print runs are so low, they're more costly. You're spending, you could spend anywhere from $2.65 to $4 a book, on a regular floppy. So how do you compete with that? Well, you have to make it a $15 or a $20 book. And it's hard for a backer to spend $20 on your book every month or every other month. It gets hard. But if you're in an LCS monthly and it's a $5 book, because I'm not paying for stretch goals, I'm paying, maybe I'm getting a bigger print run where I'm not, paying $4 a book. When my costs come down, so does my price. So the retail is better for you, right?
Exactly.
So that's a good thing for distribution is you can get a lower cover price. Some people don't understand with Kickstarter why is this book $15? Because I'm providing, and this is why you do stretch goals too, to try to incentivize them to make it worth it. Because my print run is terrible. If I'm doing a print run of 200 books, I'm paying top dollar per book. But if I go to distribution, and even if I'm getting crappy numbers, that's 1,500 books. Now I'm getting my price down,
Yeah, it depends on, like, the big thing about it is the production of the book itself. How much does it cost to get the book made?
Right.
That's what really affects everything. Like, how much you're going to make off and how much you need to sell it for. And that goes into, like, who you hire to do the book. Because one of the big things is, with crowdfunding, I think a lot of people miss is you need to have most of that book done already going in.
Yeah.
I think it's a mistake, and I know that
which goes against what crowdfunding was supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be to get you to launch the book, but now you're supposed to have the book before you get the money.
Right. Yeah. That's the way it is. I mean, if you don't, you run into some problems because a lot of guys, I know the mistakes they've made is they'll pay to get like 3 or 4 pages done, right? And that's if we get the rest of the money, we'll get the book made. And they'll have like these certain dates in place. All right, once we fulfill the campaign, once we get the money, we'll have the book to you within 2 months. Well, 2 months come and they're still struggling. It could be like a year, and that's because they didn't plan it out well enough. Sometimes they didn't want enough money. That's another thing. Like, a lot of people,
you didn't make the money you expected. Yeah.
Yeah. Or they didn't, whatever the goal they were trying to hit, wasn't enough. It's, oh shit, I still got to print this thing, and all that, and then shipping is a big one. A lot of people miss like how you get, incorporating shipping costs and how, into your books and all that as well, understanding weight and all that, or like then supplies, you don't just make the book and send out to people. You got to put these in Gemini mailers, you got to, get like bags and board that costs money. And if you don't calculate all that into your budget, and
that's another thing. You try to keep your shipping costs down on crowdfunding. I keep it at $8, but honestly, sometimes I'm losing money on it because a Gemini used to be 25 cents. Now it's $1.25. It's $1.25. That's 500. I mean, that's 5 times the markup. Bags and boards are huge, are expensive. You have to buy the equipment to print labels and get, for ship, pirate ship or whatever, stamps.com, which has a fee. Tape is expensive. Yeah. And then again, if someone orders more books, they're not all fitting in one Gemini, or if they do, it gets very expensive. And you're trying to keep your costs down, but shipping is ridiculous more than ever, especially around the holidays. And but some people look at it and go, oh, I was going to buy the book, but I got to spend an extra $10 on shipping. That seems awful, like an awful lot. I think people think in terms of, oh, it's just ship it. Well, you got to pay for the packaging. You've got to pay for the tape. You have to pay. Some people have to pay for labor to pack these, things if you're getting 200-300 orders,
Oh, yeah.
Greg said, personally, I would prefer to get a monthly book, but there really aren't too many monthly books by the big companies that are worth buying. The indie books are better written and better quality. I just wish they came out more often. And that's the thing. I always feel that distribution for indie would be huge. But that's where we're going to get into publishing through a third-party publisher, right? A known publisher. A lot of us self-publishing indie guys, we're struggling hard, and we're pushing, and we're submitting to Dark Horse and Scout and all this stuff. And we're spending a lot of time on that. Sometimes you never get an answer. Sometimes you do. Usually it's a rejection for whatever, because they're concerned. It's not easy for them to take a risk, So the question you have to weigh is the time I'm spending in focusing on trying to get in these publications that are not getting back to me or rejecting me or whatever. Is that better time spent into just trying to publish myself or not? Now, if you go through a third-party publisher, the main reason why you do that is because of their label helps bring attention to you, right? And they have the distribution account. So say, Image, who's still going through Diamond. Having that Image logo does a lot for you in marketing, just having that logo. People have this perception you've hit the big time. You must be good if Image took you, right? And then you're using the distribution. to get out there. Now, I don't know if you're aware, but Diamond takes 60% of your book because the LCS has to get its markup, right? I mean, if an LCS buys it for $4.99, if you're selling for $4.99, they're not selling it for $4.99, and they make no money. So you have your $4.99 cover price, but 60% is going to Diamond to pay its bills and to the LCS to get a discount. And then the publisher's taking 20 to 30%. So you walk away with maybe 10% or 8% of your cover. So at a $5 book, maybe I'm walking away with 60 cents per book. And how many books do I have to do? Now, if you go through Scout's going to tell you, I'm not paying you out until we've recouped our marketing money, because they're paying to market. So honestly, when you go through distribution, unless you hit lightning in a bottle like Billy Tucci and you're doing a big print run right away, you're losing money. You're eating money. And that doesn't even count the fact that you're still paying for production yourself, because you keep the creator on rights. You know? The pros of using a third... Go ahead.
Well, now on that, you hit the one thing I want to talk about with the production. No matter what you do, whether you're doing it yourself, you're going through crowdfunding, you submit the image, you got to pay. You're going to have to pay for this stuff yourself. I don't know of any deal where, a company will say, all right, we love this idea, we're going to give you money to finish off this book. I just don't think that happens. Nope. And I think, I hope I'm not jumping around when I say this, but kind of going back into like the whole like submitting thing. I think a lot of reasons we get rejected, right? And I don't think, I've submitted to a few publishers, and I got the little basic rejection letter, and I knew it wasn't anything I did wrong. Number one, I'm an unknown, but you got to look at it really got to look from a business point of view, from how they see it. And like you said, most of them want like short run. They want like a 4 to 5 issue run,
or a big name that's been proven.
Yeah. There's a reason behind that too now, because in their minds, okay, this guy's sending me this book. How many books have they done already? Are they just like sending me the first issue and I pick them up?
Right.
And are they going to be able to keep, because no matter what, like until the money starts coming in, you still got to finish off that run. They're not going to,
Yeah, you've got to keep that deadline, right? They need that publication deadline.
Right.
Exactly.
So if you're in a position where you've already got the entire thing done, ready to go, you may stand a better chance than the other guy who may have the better story, may have the better artwork, who's only got one book, so that's a big thing, but the thing is, if you was in that position, would you need a publisher at that point? Because you already got
and that's the thing, right? We're in an age where the question arises, and I'm not saying yes or no. Do you need a third-party publisher at this point? Here's the thing. If Diamond turns you down, or Lunar, and you can't get distribution, then yes, you absolutely need to find a third-party publisher if you want to do a monthly ongoing series or whatever the case may be. So that's a scenario where yes, you need a third-party publisher. But we're in a day and age where you have a very good chance of getting accepted by distribution on your own merits. But here's the other thing. A third-party publisher will front the print run for you. What if I don't have? What if I get lucky and I do, low end, you can do 500 to 1,500 usually, probably a first book coming out of nowhere. But still, at $2 and change a book, 1,500, look at the math. Do you have that money to put up? So that's another area where it would benefit you to get a third-party publisher. But say you have the money. Say you crowdfunded your book a few times and you saved the money for the print run, and you have a book that Diamond goes, yeah, you know what? All right, we'll pick up Philbo Publishing. Tragedy looks good. Let's do it. When do you want to launch? And I start going monthly through my own distribution. I've just cut out the middleman of 30%, and I'm making a little more. I'm still getting 60% taken away, but 40% beats 8%, 10%, right? Because even when you go through a third-party publisher, you still have to market yourself. You have to bust your butt and still get out there. I think there's this this false belief that just because you got work with DC and Marvel, or Image picked up your book or whatever, that you've made it. This industry, you're every day you're still trying to make it. You're still trying to get out there. I mean, just because Image picks you up doesn't mean you don't have to hustle and bust your butt still, to become known. You do. And a lot of these companies, they'll put you on their website and they'll have you on a table with 400 books. How much are you getting marketed? I mean, how much are you really getting put out there with these guys? Another pro to getting through a third-party publisher like Scout, etc., is you're more apt to possibly get in the like CBR and and on Reddit and like in all these news outlets for comics and pop culture, where they're not going to pay attention to the little guy. They're not going to do that for you. So there are a lot of benefits to being with a third-party publisher, but I still don't know if you need that anymore, depending on what kind of hustle you can put in, what kind of work you can put in. Again, with the crowdfunding, you can do multiple options where you can use both. You can utilize both. You can go monthly in distribution, still do a few other titles if you want every quarter on Kickstarter, or you can do exclusive covers that are Kickstarter only, and again, invite and include the retailers, right? So that you have another revenue stream that helps make that print run for you.
I
now,
agree.
The distribution that you're using, every like 6 weeks, they usually pay you out, okay, for your books. You get into Previews Magazine. The comic shops get Previews Magazine. They look and they scour through it. It really depends on the comic shop owner, how deeply they look through the new stuff, or if they just go with what they know. Some people are creatures of habit, right? But say they come across my Ian Churchill cover or my Will Spatazzi, go, all right, that's a good name, and that's a beautiful cover, and this looks interesting. The synopsis is kind of cool, which you have to write yourself and submit to the distributor. All right, I'll order 2. I'll give it a try. There is another technique that I learned you can do. Say you get that one big name. Say you get a Walt Simonson cover or a Bill Sienkiewicz cover, right? You could do a 1 in 4 variant. And what you do is you say, for every 4 books you buy, you order as a comic store, you'll get that Bill Sienkiewicz cover or whatever. And that incentivizes them to want to get that cover because they know that they can mark that Sienkiewicz cover up to $10, $20 just because it's Sienkiewicz. Now you've gotten them to buy more. So even if less stores buy it, you can make it up in the volume per store.
Right.
But you have to pay that big name to get on that cover. And that's going to cost money. And can you get that big name? A lot of time, people think it's easy to just reach a big name. You throw money at them to say, sure. They don't even respond to you. They don't even want to be bothered by you. They don't want to, unless you're DC or Marvel, they probably don't want to hear from you. I mean, let's face it. I get a lot of big names on my books. They don't push my book. They don't promote it. They don't market it, but they'll sure as hell promote their DC work or their Marvel work because they know more eyes are on that.
Exactly.
Right. And that's not knocking them. That's not saying anything bad. It's just the reality of it is one is going to help promote their status and one is going to get more eyes on it. And the other one was a job that they got paid to do and they're going to move on. And that's on me to make it worthwhile to them to say, I am somebody that will help them boost. Because this is, at the best, it's got to be symbiotic. At the worst, they're going to use the hell out of you. I mean, that's just the industry, right? It's any industry. The cons to going through a third-party publisher are you spend a lot of time investing in trying to get them to pick up your property that they're probably not going to because they get thousands and thousands of submissions if they even look at it, if they even give it a fair shake. They're taking a lot of money on top of distribution. I mean, like 90% of your book is going just so you can use their distribution and use their name on your cover. You're still promoting. You're still paying for production. They'll still get royalty rights if you somehow did get to Netflix or something else. So you have to wait. You have to make that decision is it worth it to you to go through the third party, or do you think you can go to Diamond yourself? If you go to Lunar, Diamond, Penguin House, now Penguin House is going to say no. You know, they want a certain, they want a guaranteed 20,000 or whatever print run. You can't guarantee that. But Lunar and Diamond are more reachable. You can go to their sites and submit. And Diamond likes physical submissions, and I think Lunar will take digital, but Diamond wants physical submissions because they want to see the actual product in their hands. They want to know what your marketing strategy is, how far along you are, who's your creative team, that you're going to stay with the creative team. They don't want it switching by book 2 because now it's a new product. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And they have their guidelines listed there, so you could submit. Diamond comes back, says yes. They recommend 60%, but they're telling you it's 60%. You're not getting less than that. And they're going to say, okay, when are you looking to launch? Write up your synopsis. You're going to get in previews, you get your preview code number so you can promote and market and let the LCSs know. But again, previews is not the end all be all. You know, people think again, oh, I made it, previews. Previews is simply a catalog that store owners get with hundreds of publishers in there. It doesn't mean they're ordering your book. It doesn't mean they even saw your ad in that previews because you're among 50 others and they skimmed through it. You know, you still have to market to those comic stores and say, hey, I'm in previews. This is why you need to get my book. So that's where those incentives come from.
Right, because the thing with previews, if there's no demand for it, they're not going to pick it up, you know?
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I mean, it's like a post on Facebook. You could get 50 likes, but how many people really paid attention to it or really invested in it?
That's right.
Right? So you still got to grind. You got to put in that work. And it's a 24/7 job. The marketing is the hard part, is the really hard part. So those are the things you face going through distribution as opposed to crowdfunding. Now, I've heard people say, oh, crowdfunding is good, distribution is overrated. It is and it isn't. Distribution, you have to weather a storm in the beginning. You're going to lose money in the beginning. It's a fact. But if you can weather that storm and build momentum, then you're going to reach a vastly larger population than you would on Kickstarter.
I totally agree.
And here's the other thing, crowdfunding versus distribution. And tell me if you agree with this. I don't think Kickstarter people are majority readers. I think they're collectors. I mean, booby books do well. They're not reading those books. You sell, campaign goes for the big name cover or the beautiful cover. How many people are reading the books? Which goes to what you were talking about. That's why they're not buzzing or talking about it. But distribution, people go into local comic stores. Those are readers. They're coming back. So that's why when LCS get upset, oh, you Kickstarted, those people aren't going to come here. Not true. Readers are going into your store. Collectors are going to Kickstarter.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, because the thing about it is, like, there's a way to do Kickstarter, right, to make it work for you. And I mean, I know a lot of people that have been very successful Kickstarter because they'll do a few books a year, and like they may do like an actual comic book. It'll be very self-contained, and they'll do like an art book. Art books are going to sell better on Kickstarter because it's an art book. You know what I'm saying? There's no reading. You know what I'm saying?
Especially if it's a pinup book.
Yeah, you know, and that's where you can use that to your advantage. You can get the bigger name artists on there, you know, because they have a following built in, and hopefully, you know, you can make enough money off of that. You can put that into your other project. There's nothing wrong with that, you know. Right. But yeah, most people on Kickstarter, it's going to be people just actually just collecting it for the art and stuff like that. You know, but there's also a lot of backing backers too on Kickstarter. You know, a lot of people don't talk about that. You know, that's a big thing. And, you know, that's not really, for me, I don't think you can really use Kickstarter as a way to truly gauge your following. I don't, you know what I'm saying? You got to do other things too. You know, you still got to go to conventions, right? Mm-hmm. You got to do all these other things. You know, go to local comic book shops, get your book out there and stuff. That's really who's going to keep the book going. versus just doing everything, through the campaigns. Again, the campaigns are good if you know what if you have a strategy in mind and understand what it is. But people that buy comics in stores is a totally different group than people that buy it online. I mean, not online, but on Kickstarter.
Right. I'm going to address everybody's comments in a second. Wade and Greg and Marvin. Here's the analogy I have: monthly ongoing series versus what the small publishers want with these self-contained stories or Kickstarter. And this is strictly my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You take a snowball about that big and you put it on a hill of snow. If it rolls 3 feet and stops, it's the same size, right? If you roll it another 3 feet and it stops, maybe it grew a little bit, but there's no exponential growth.
Mm-hmm.
But if you take that bad boy and you roll it down that hill, by the time it gets to the end of the hill, it's a boulder. Now, my problem with these small publishers is they want these self-contained stories for their costs to keep down, which I totally understand on a business level. But you as the creator are not building momentum, because you don't, like, She-Hulk comes out and we all talk about it, and it's all we talk about on Facebook, and then the show's over and you don't hear about it anymore. But you know that you're Disney and it's a big streaming service that when it comes back around, people will flock to it, right?
Yeah.
When you're a little nobody like us, when you do your 5-issue series and you stop, you're starting over again. You have to bring people back again. They don't remember you. They don't remember you. You don't have that name, that brand behind you. So you're stopping and starting over again, stopping and starting over again. But if you can do an ongoing, you may struggle the first several months, but people are going to start noticing, oh, this book is coming out still. Oh, wow, this is issue 6. It's starting to get, people starting to talk about it. More people are ordering it. And, all right, you know what? This looks legit. It's been around for a year. Screw it. Let me check it out. And maybe you put the trade paperback out on Kickstarter to jumpstart readers. You're building momentum because something's every month. I'm going to go back to Image Comics. What hurt them? They were late. If Rob Liefeld, Todd McFarlane, Mark Silvestri, Jim Lee could lose the interest of readers because they were 2 months late, what do you think we're going to do? We don't even have their power, their names, their influence, their legendary status.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to build that momentum, right? If Spawn came out as a 5-issue series and stopped, we probably wouldn't be at 300 and something issues right now. You know what I'm saying? I think you need that momentum. So real quick, let me get this. Wade, this is great, Mr. Russell. I'm dealing with this now. Can we talk so I can see your experiences? First of all, unless you're looking to date my daughters, it's not Mr. Russell, it's Phil. And my daughters are 10 and 8, so you better not be looking to date my daughters. Yeah, DM me anytime. If I can help in any way I can. I don't have all the answers. I don't pretend to be the know-all, be-all. I'm a knowledge I've accumulated and studied. Marvin said, I do not think any indie publisher should be doing monthly releases. I want your opinion on why that is, my friend. Use all the tools in the toolbox. Okay, but you're saying you don't think we should go through distribution for monthly release. So then we're not using all the tools in our toolbox. So please elaborate, Marvin. We'd love to talk about that.
I think I know what he means by that, I think.
What do you think?
I mean, it's very difficult to do an ongoing book on a monthly basis. Because, again, like, it's going to boil down to a money thing. You've got to... Right. And I've done the math a few times on it. So unless you like rich starting out, let's say like you hit the lottery, you got like, I would say maybe like $50,000 or $60,000 laying around, to go ahead and like get like the first 6 issues done. Cause again, you gotta be ahead too. Like even if you can't do an issue, hope there's enough money, then do issue 2 next month. It's impossible. You're gonna have to at least have like 5 to 6 issues already done completely. Right.
You should be working on issue 7 while 1 is being released. Absolutely.
Yeah, and like most of us can't do that. It's almost impossible to do it right now. So there is, and because that's another problem too. Like if you commit to doing a monthly book, and once you're late, it's gonna fuck you up. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
distribution is not going to like that at all. You're
Yeah,
going to
you
get
know
in
what I'm
trouble.
saying. Diamond, don't you guys sign a deal with Diamond? Like you have to sell so many books, like, or they'll cut you.
No, they don't. I don't believe they do that anymore. Where there's a minimum. They don't do that. But because whether you sell 5 or you sell 50, they're still going to make some money, right, on the distribution. But they'll probably cut you loose if you're not holding your weight. But I don't think Diamond's stupid enough to think that I'm going to come out with 20,000 copies at the start.
Right,
now, Marvin said he does quarterly through Diamond. And you know what? That's great. And I'm not knocking that. So I want to ask you, Marvin, do you see an increase in, how long have you been doing it? And has there been a growth, an increase in followers with quarterly? Or do you feel it's been the same people coming back every 3 months? Because that's a long time to remember what happened in the last issue. It's a long time to remember that a book is coming out and keep track of, especially with all the books that are out there. And I am not
like
saying,
trade, right?
And that's what I want to ask Marvin. Are you talking about an individual floppy issue? Are you talking about a collected trade? Has there been growth in your audience? Please share it with us. People would love to hear your experience. Chris Borman, I think McFarlane said he didn't stop drawing until he had like 50 or 60 issues drawn, but most of the other books. Sorry, someone just messaged me while I was doing it. When the artists got their first huge paycheck, they slacked off and took vacations. This will be issue 1. I will let you know. Well, first of all, congratulations to you, Marvin, on being through distribution with Diamond. I wish you sincere success. Do me a favor, Marvin. You drop whatever links you want right now to when the launch, when we're going to be able to buy this issue, what it is. Please solicit right here and let us know so we can go to our local comic shops and say, we want this book by Marvin Wynn or your publishing company, whatever the case is. Please, we want to support. So feel free to solicit. Now, primarily issue 1s always do well because people want first appearances in case it blows up. And issue 2s drop off. And you don't usually see recovery till issue 4 or 5 in distribution. That's just fact. That's true. So if Marvin saw growth to issue 2, that's a great sign. That's fantastic. And I really wish you well. And I'm curious to see what your book is. I'd love to see, because if I'd love to support. I still think monthly is a good thing. If, and to address to your point, you're ahead. I mean, you got to remember, I have 26 issues of tragedy scripted, and I can easily do I could write a script in a day. I have 5 books done, and 6 will be done by the time I'm going to distribution. So, and I've got it in place where I can get a book done in 6 weeks. All right. Actually, no, 4 weeks, because if you go 6 weeks, it's going to pile up and eventually going to catch up to yourself. So I can get a book done in a month. I have an inker that's going to follow right behind the penciler, and the color follows right behind the inker, and my letterer does stuff in like 5 minutes. So I will be able to meet the deadlines. That's the first thing. The next issue I will face is the print run. Now, there's the good problem to have, and that's, holy cow, tragedy did 3,000 out of the gate. I got to come up with like $9,000. Okay, my wife's hot, I'll pimp her out. But I'm just kidding. But that's a good problem to have, and I know I'll figure that bad boy out. I'll do what I got to do, and I have things in the works, by the way, to address that. Worse, the bad side is maybe I only sell 500 issues. My print run's low enough; it's manageable right now. It's a small start, but it's a start. But I do think monthly is a momentum builder. People stay fresh in your mind. When you do comics, here's the thing: when you're an independent publisher and you don't have distribution, I've gone into many stores. I'm stores in Arizona, Florida, Connecticut, New York, California. Here's the problem: my book will sell 12 issues in the first week, and it's not even a Wednesday. It's a Thursday through a Tuesday, and then they bury my book. And you know why they bury my book? Because they feel like everybody who was interested in his book bought it already, and you're not getting another one next month, right? No one's
Yeah,
coming back next month because that book's not coming out for another 3 or 4, if even.
and they're
So it
thinking
gets
about all the other
buried.
books. I mean, they're thinking about other books that's about to come in. They're trying to make room for those,
Yeah, they're gonna make room for monthly releases, not for the schmuck who they don't know when his next book is coming out because it's not scheduled. Maybe your
Right.
Kickstarter doesn't come out for 4 or 5 months. Maybe you have print run problems and your Kickstarter's delayed. I mean, so why would they do that? So I sold well. I did a comic store signing. I sold 60 issues. I made money. It was great. I did the next comic store signing at the same store like 8 months later. I didn't do very well because all the people already, came by. They already bought it. They saw it, a lot, So you have to, I really do think monthly is a good thing if you can meet the criteria. If you can't, then yeah, go at bi-monthly, go every 3 months, quarterly, do what you need to do. But distribution, I think, is the key to growth because Kickstarter, you said it, there's so much saturation now. And it's not just comics, there's so much other stuff on there. And I don't think it's readers going to Kickstarter. My tragedy book will fund in minutes. I'll go to, I'm not a huge campaign, but I'm a decent campaign, right? I'll do $10,000 to $13,000 campaign. I will fund in an hour to 2 hours. I'll get to $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. Hey, kitty. You got a caveat. It's cute, Tabby.
One of 3.
Yeah, we have 3 too. And the reason why I fund right away is because the people that jump in right away are the readers.
Right.
Or they know I'm going to have a big name cover that they want to collect. But how many people are talking about tragedy? When Chuck Dixon, Peter David, and Howard Mackey say tragedy's written well, but I'm still, people aren't buzzing about tragedy. That's all. People will tell me how great they think the story is, but they're not telling everybody else. And I'm not getting in CBR. I'm not getting all these places because I'm a nobody, And I'm sorry to say this, but I do think there's starting to be a stigma on Kickstarter campaigns because of all the porn that's coming out, all the booby books. A lot of people are using the booby route to make instant money because it sells. It does sell. There's a market for it. I'm not knocking these people. They're making money. God bless you. You make $30,000, $40,000 because you put a bunch of half-naked women, even though the art wasn't the best. Fine. Good for you. But it's at some point going to become a stigma, I think, on indie comics to not be taken seriously because those booby books cannot go into LCS. They'll never go to distribution. They're not looking for readers with booby books. They're looking for backers. That's just true, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, there's an abundance of them, and you can tell. You can tell who's like actually. Cause I mean, there's a different. It's one thing if you like, that person has like actual books and like they do like 1 or 2 just for fun, right? But
Right.
you got some that's all they do. Like even like their main book is like it's all about this chick with the guns and the swords and the big boobs.
But
running
her ass and her boobs are sticking out in every panel.
You know what I'm saying? And that's like, okay, what are we doing here? And so that is, I don't think that's the only problem though, because there's a few things with Kickstarter especially. The numbers, we don't know, because there's no way of knowing how accurate these numbers are. You got some guys, claim they're making like, 60, 70,000 on Kickstarter. Are they really?
Well, what do you mean?
I mean, there's ways to fake them numbers.
Is there?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of ways you can fake numbers on Kickstarter. And it's like, are they trying to create this illusion of success?
Oh, you mean like backing your own money into it through other people and stuff like that?
Backing your own money, you know what I'm saying? You can make fake accounts because again, like Kickstarter doesn't take the money until it clears, until the campaign's over with.
That seems like a lot of work.
But I'm saying, but some people, they want to create that illusion,
right?
That they're making it too. So there is that. I don't know, but again, it's just too many books. I really believe it's just too many books out. It's so much stuff. You can look right now on Kickstarter and probably see like about 50 books that you've never heard of before.
Now, that's
And
another
one
thing
day.
that I question with Kickstarter. What is their criteria for being bumped up in the algorithm? Because I'll tell you, you get that projects we love thing. I've never seen that make any difference in a campaign
It doesn't.
whatsoever.
It doesn't.
What is it? Like we you wear it like a badge of honor, but it doesn't bump you up in the algorithm, right? I mean, if I go to Kickstarter just to rummage, just to look, and a lot of people do that, I'll see a $500 campaign with an hour to go higher up than me who's doing 10,000, which I think is good because that's the person who needs the help. But then I'll see Brian Polito or whatever, they're getting all the attention when they already have $400,000, blah, 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 because Kickstarter want to show you how that's Kickstarter's promotion. Look at us, we can make you $400,000. But he's not the one who needs to be up high in the algorithm. He's not the one who needs help. We do.
Yeah, I mean, again, like you said, it's all algorithm. I mean, it's going to show whatever's doing better. It's going to bump that up. Just like that was a Kick Track or whatever it's called.
But I don't think they go by who's doing better. I don't think there's any rhyme or reason to it at all, to be honest with you. Like I said, I'll have a guy that's doing a lot less than me ahead of me, which I think is a good thing. But then I'll have people that are also doing 10 times better than me ahead of me. So where does that work?
I'm not sure. I don't know how. I mean, I'm not even sure anymore like how the Kickstarter thing works as far as like how it bumps people up and whatnot.
And that's the thing is you have that big lull in the middle of a Kickstarter campaign. So you do this 4-week campaign where really the first 48 hours and the last 48 hours are where you get your hits, where you get your really big stuff, unless you're a special campaign. Now with Tragedy 3, I really thought things were booming and going well because I didn't stop. Every day I was having 2 to 4 backers every day. It was just continually, it was growing. And I was like, all right, maybe crowdfunding is the way to go. And then book 4 came out and we did less money and it wasn't as successful, which was weird to me because we were exponentially growing. And then we just fell back. Now I'm going to find out with chapter 5 what happens. Maybe it's because of the economy. Maybe it's because of the oversaturation. I don't know. And the other thing is, you have this email list, you can do these updates, but most people don't even pay attention to those updates. I'll send the PDF, and they're like, why didn't I get my PDF? I sent it 2 months ago in an update, but you just erased the updates.
I know they tell you, I mean, I know even Brian Polito type, build your email list. I don't think the email list works, man. I mean, it didn't really work for me. And most people I know that are very successful at this, they don't use email lists.
Because people don't want to be spammed. It either goes to the spam account or they're like, oh my God, I got 5 Kickstarter things today. Delete.
But that's the thing, Charles. Though, I mean, and this kind of goes with everything. Like you can't map out success, your path to success. What works for one person may not work for you, and vice versa. It's going to vary for everybody. We just got to kind of figure out what works and kind of go with it.
Now, the other thing is promotion. What are our marketing options, right? Now, if you're self-publishing and you don't have distribution, using the update platform or the message platform to reach prior people and prior campaigns is one. Facebook paid promotion, which I don't know what that does for you, man. They don't quantify, they don't justify where your money is going. They say you reach 3,000 people. I don't see any difference. Is that because 3,000 people just didn't give a crap? Then are you targeting my people? Or are you telling me that one guy saw my ad 4 times and that counted as 4? We don't know.
It's tricky. Well, I know. Well, we know somebody who I was talking to. We'll talk about it later. Who was there? There is a way to use it, like because you know how. I mean, it gives all these prompts, right? All these you got to filter out like everything for demographics and stuff. There's a very specific way you have to do it, where to work for you. If not, because when I did it, I messed up, and I was seeing my own ad. Like, why am I seeing this thing? You know what I'm saying? Like, it was filmed out like the same like 5 people, and I saw what it was doing. So nobody was really even seeing the thing, But dude, like honestly, paying for Facebook ad, I don't think it's worth it.
You know what I got? I got a lot of bots. Messaging me. That's what I got.
You're better off putting it online. You know what I'm saying? But then again, but this goes a whole nother conversation, like about like marketing yourself. Cause, you know, even I've done it myself. Like there's like all these damn Facebook groups, right? And you see, we all that when we post our stuff
traction.
But this the thing about it though. You gotta look at who's in that. It's the same people. Like it's the same people that have like 20 different groups, and it's other creators. Like you're literally.
But I also think Facebook is burying these groups. They're burying anything that seemed a business because they want you to pay for promotion. They're burying it.
It is. Facebook don't like links either. They don't like hyperlinks to stuff.
No, they don't, which is why I use the story feature a lot. The story feature will get past a lot of algorithms, and you may get a post that gets 20 likes, but the story gets 140 views on it. Now, do views or likes equate to financial support? No. But
hold on 1 second, Phil.
Yeah. So for marketing options that you have, obviously get a website. Hey, what's up, Bowie? You're getting so big. Hi.
Hey, Phil.
Look at those eyes. You're like, oh wow, what's going on? The world is so big.
Hopefully he'll he's another co-host.
Dude, that's the best thing Flash Delirium has put out.
All right.
Created. Hey, Bowie. Hi, buddy. How you doing? You sitting with Daddy? Daddy's gonna be a rock star someday.
Oh.
Yeah, he agreed. So you got to get a website, obviously, right? A central hub to sell your stuff and to promote. Because if you go through distribution, they want to see a website, and if you are going to get people, they want to see a website. It looks professional.
Yeah, you need a website. Yeah.
If you get big names on your books, try to get them to do signings at local stores for you. That's another marketing way. Use the story features on Instagram and all that. Twitter, sadly, go there. I hate Twitter. Paid Facebook promotions. Try to email, and you're probably not going to get any luck, but keep going and pushing CBR and Reddit and all of those places to make an article about you or something. But you're going to have to make some splash. Go to these guys that, a lot of these retailers now with their retailer variants, they're online retailers. I think personally they're kind of saturating everything and hurting the market right now, but short term they can help you if you can get a retailer version on their through their company. That's another thing to do. So there's a lot of things like that you can do. Believe it or not, Hulu and Google are now providing offers at reasonable rates to put commercials out for you. Like Hulu would put, and what they do is they target something that is in the realm of what your thing is. And they start at $500, but of course they have all these added on fees. But for $2,000, you get something put together, and then you pay the same way you used to for radio. You can get a Hulu ad for people who paid for the lowest subscription that get the commercials in it. There is a lot out there. The problem, I think, with a lot of this is there's no way to quantify how far your money's going. How do you quantify how many people bought something because they saw you on this or read you in that or whatever? When you go through distribution, another revenue stream is you can now get ads, paid ads. Mm-hmm. Like I have people that want to do paid ads in my tragedy book, and that's only on Kickstarter. If I go to monthly, I have people that will pay for full page ads, knowing that I'm going to be in a comic store every month. You're damn right.
That's not bad. That's a good way to go.
Yeah, and that's a benefit to distribution is you can now get paid ads. Now, a lot of people want to, if you go media mail, you can't have ads. So a lot of people can't put ads in because of that situation. I don't use media mail because I want to be able to put ads in. The little more that I pay in shipping is more than worth it for the money I'll make from ads, which will be coming. So that's another avenue. But what is everybody's thought in there based on what we're talking about as far as crowdfunding versus distribution or amalgamating the two, which I think that's the best of both worlds. You amalgamate the two. What do you guys think about that? And is anybody surprised and shocked by how much you get off of your own book once you go through a third-party publisher and distribution? Give us your insight and your thoughts, guys, because I mean, there's print costs are crazy. Advertising is expensive. Production costs. Again, a lot of people are now going to artists that are overseas because the exchange rate, they can get a better page rate. But now American artists are hurting because American artists cannot go that low. American artists cannot do $50 a page.
No, they can't.
Unless they're doing this as a side gig while they're doing their day job. A professional level artist who really wants to make this as a living, they can't do $50 a page. And let me explain why. Yeah, let me explain why. Not only is it $50 a page and not a lot, you may be thinking, yeah, but $50 a page is a 24-page book. Okay, but it takes a day to do a page. So they're getting paid $50 a day. That means they're getting $250 a week. Can you live off of that? You can't. You can't. You can't. And for them to take on other books is difficult because they're spending all the time on your book for $50 a page. So it's hard. And as a publisher, you want to support American artists, but at the same time, you need to stay in business. Right?
Right.
So what are you going to do? You're going to go overseas and you're going to find the guy that, $40 in Brazil, $40 American dollars in Brazil is probably $230 in Brazilian currency. That's a big difference in page rate, right?
I did want to add something to this, Phil, about the whole distribution versus crowdfunding thing. It depends on what your goal is with all of this. If you're somebody who, you like comics, but this is not something you want to do this is not like your day job where you want to do the rest of your life. You just want to do a cool, you got a story in your head, you want to put it out there.
Right.
And crowdfunding is the way to go. So there's no reason why you should not just crowdfund the book, put it out, and be done with it. But if you have a long-term goal, like this is, you're seeing like this big epic storyline or multiple books,
right,
shared universes and all that stuff, you're going to have to at some point really create a business plan to get away from crowdfunding and then go into distribution. Because if you don't, you're limiting yourself. Because like you said, even there are people who they create multiple accounts so they can do multiple Kickstarters a month. I think that's suicide. I think that's very dangerous because
I think you're playing with fire, and if Kickstarter finds out, they're going to stop you.
That could, it for me, it shows. Like you can tell, they need to maybe reduce the books a little bit. I just don't. I wouldn't recommend doing that.
Well, I mean, you have to have a smart business plan too, right? No matter how you go,
right.
You can't release too many books at once, but you should have multiple titles if you're trying to become a publishing company.
Right. Yeah. Or
again, it's revenue streams.
Yeah, or like the Image route. Like say, like if it's you, me, and like 3 other people we could trust came together, that's something different. We you know what I'm saying? You could strategize that and maybe
the problem with that kind of collaboration now is I hate to say this, but too many cooks in the kitchen never works. Image didn't last. I mean, it's still there, but those 7 guys, how many of them are still there? How many of them fought? How many of them, they don't like each other? It's a very difficult thing when you bring in partners. For me, anyway, that's a personal.
Yeah.
By the way,
that's like, what's that say?
For guys like me, it's all about working within my pitiful budget. Asian artists are all I can afford for now. When your campaign draws under 3,000, there's not much wiggle room. And that's the other thing. Tragedy. I've made very good money off of Tragedy for a little guy so far. What I made in 1 year is probably on par with a good median salary in America. All right? Thank God. I just released The Dynamics. It's a family-friendly book. An adult can enjoy this book, but so can a kid. And it's struggling. It's doing nothing. It's pitiful. I can't put out an issue 2 at this rate. With the I'm not even recouping the money I spent on production. How am I supposed to put out a book 2? But if Dynamics was in distribution, I bet you it would do way better because kids would go into a store and, Daddy, I'm looking to buy something to read. And they're like, well, most things are not kid appropriate anymore. Oh, what's this? And with it being something like The Incredibles, so to speak, it's nothing like that story, but, a family of superpowers, the father or the mother can sit and read it with the kids. It's a wonderful thing. That would probably be a book that might do very well in distribution, but Kickstarter, they want boobs, or they want violence, or they want dark stories. They don't want family-friendly stuff, and it's evident by this campaign. I have a $1,500 goal, and I'm almost there, but tragedy would be at $6,000, $7,000 right now. So I really think the Kickstarter audience is a totally different audience than you'd get through distribution in a local comic shop. I think they're two different audiences. And that's why when local comic shops are concerned about, oh, you already put on Kickstarter, it's going to hurt sales here. I don't think so. Kickstarter are mostly collectors and fans of art and novelty. Whereas the people that go into a comic store, they want to read those stories. They want to read them.
Yeah. Also, for me personally, again, Kickstarter's a great platform to use, but why I think distribution is better, because I don't like charging people $15 for a floppy.
I don't either.
That's just, but most people that do it, they understand why you got to on Kickstarter. I'd much rather you pay. Hell, sorry, buddy. I don't even like charge somebody $4.99 for a book. If in a perfect world, I would love to charge you $1.99. You know what I'm saying?
I know, but
do that.
Printing costs are insane.
Yeah,
Aaron says you can keep the money, just give me the baby. Bowie is so good. Look at him. He's just chilling and relaxing. He's
cool.
Good
right now, crossing our fingers.
Yeah. Hey, buddy. How you doing? He's getting that the vibrations from your voice talking to him is probably nice too on him.
You like your talk.
See, and again, I can't. I think distribution is a better route for me, but I don't think it's a better route for everybody. I mean, obviously, like you said before, depending on your goals, if you're just looking to do self-contained stories, I think it's better to go through Kickstarter than to go through SourcePoint or whatever, because they're going to take their cut, and then distribution takes their cut, and you walk away with what? But if you want to do an ongoing, I think it's inevitable you have to go through distribution for an ongoing. By the time I hit the 26 issues that I have written, it'll be 7 years from now, and who's going to remember? Who's going to be following me that long with a book coming out every 3 to 4 months? And if I want to put out other titles, it just ruins my schedule. I mean, it's been 6 months. It's going to be 6 months between my tragedy issues because of delays with printers and stuff.
And you've done very well. I mean, to say you're on your 6th issue, and the time, because you start, when did you first release Chad? Was it last year? Or was it the year before?
I've been doing this a year and a half, almost 2 years now. February will be 2 years.
And you got 6. I mean, that's pretty good, dude. I mean, for what you got going on. I mean, most people, I mean, myself included, getting issue 3 has been a struggle. You know what I'm saying? So,
well, when I was on my deathbed in 2021, I literally wrote the script in 9 hours. I had the book in production. I had it kickstarted, and I had it in people's hands in 4 months. Larry Stroman goes, he's a friend of mine. He goes, "You're like the craziest dude I ever met. Who the hell does that?" And Sean Chen told me, he's like, "It's crazy which you do all these things and you do them well, and you just go for it."
Gotta hustle, man. I mean, but the thing, another thing is, it's all hard work, wherever you're doing Kickstarter distribution. Yep. But to do distribution, that's a lot. And I mean, let's be real. A lot of people don't want to do that. They think they may, but there's a lot more headaches in that. There's a lot more stuff you got to do that you don't have to do just doing the crowdfunding is safe. I mean, that's another thing.
Right.
If you don't make your goal, you don't make your goal, right? You sign that deal with Image or Boom, if you're lucky enough to get in and you screw that up, then you'll be a joke, right? If you mess up, you're a joke. No one can take you seriously. You kind of and it just make things harder for you down the line.
See, I never worry about that stuff, because not only am I confident in what I can do, but if you start worrying about that stuff, that's when you fall. That's when you're in trouble. Greg Johnston had a question. It was a spell check error. He corrected himself, and he said Elston. But how many books did you sell on Kickstarter versus your website? And that's a great question.
That is a good question. I cannot remember off the top of my head, but I'm telling you, I'm being straight up honest with you. I did better on my website than did Kickstarter.
And
I
I'm
have to
going to
say
tell
that
everybody right now.
I cannot remember the numbers exactly, but I do know it. We had a better run with when we did it straight up on the website.
Now, Elston's book, Christopher's book is black and white. And black and whites just don't sell well for some reason, with comics, unless you're Walking Dead. Even then, the numbers weren't great, believe it or not. It was the show that made
It took
Walking
it a
Dead
while.
big.
It took Walking Dead a while to reach its,
But
status.
Rabbit's Badass Song is, like, I would say the flagship title because you've done other stuff for Christopher and Chastity's company, Flash Delirium. I thoroughly enjoy this book. I mean, I've become an old curmudgeon where I just don't enjoy reading most comics anymore. I think Marvel and DC ruined it for me. No offense, they just did. They're not written for me. I get it, and it just turned me away. And I don't enjoy comics like I used to. I don't even collect Image titles that I hear are good anymore. I just don't. But I read Badass Song or Rabbit's Badass Song, and I go, "Damn, this is good, and it's engaging, and it's interesting." So I buy number 2. And the quality's just as good. It's even up in its game. And I can't wait for number 3. And here's the crime. Their campaigns did all right, but didn't do anywhere what they deserved to do. And I mean that when I say deserve. And the problem is, it's so much to produce these books that if you don't support our campaigns, we can't keep going. I don't right now. There isn't going to be a dynamics issue too. I can't. I'm losing a lot of money right now because this campaign is just not doing what Tragedy does. I hoped I didn't think I'd get all my Tragedy backers because they're totally different genres, but I thought people would trust in my writing and I would at least get 50 to 60% of my backers. I think I've gotten 8% of my backers, and it's rough. I'm not complaining. I'm not upset. I'm very grateful for the backers I have. I am going to fund, but how do I go forward and justify doing issue 2 with the loss of issue 1? If I'm going to take losses like that, I'm going to go through distribution and suffer those losses at least because I feel I can build momentum in distribution. I'm not going to build momentum with this on Kickstarter. If it does $2,000 on this campaign, I'll be lucky if it does $2,000 for the next one. But if I go to distribution and maybe it sells 500 copies and maybe number 2 does less because you always dip, if I keep plugging along, if I can survive through issue 4 or 5, I'll start to see the numbers rise again. And then I'll start that snowball effect and building up. But I don't think crowdfunding, I have a shot.
No, I totally agree. I know what you're coming from because even Rabbit, we did okay overall. Like Rabbit did okay for what it was.
It deserved better though.
I appreciate that. And the people that actually bought the book and read it, for the most part that I know of, they liked it, and we put it in a couple of stores and it did okay. We just did for the cost of production on that book.
Right.
We're just not making enough to keep it going the way I wanted to.
Right.
And again, we've always had there were contingency plans in place from the very beginning with what we're going to do with the Rabbit book. So after issue 3, which we're still we're trying to finish fulfilling that now. We hit a couple snags. That still should be released on time, like you said, between February and March. Issue 3 kind of gets a good stopping point for a while, so we can always come back, back to it, even if we got to do like a trade, and, re-release and whatnot. And we got some other things we're going to work on. As far as comic book stuff, we're probably not going to do any more comic stuff for a while. We do plan to do like an art book we might release, but I'm really focusing on the movie stuff right now because that was originally the plan anyway. Right. And I got some opportunities with that, so we're going to be doing some more things with that. The rest of the year, which we'll be sharing pretty soon. But Rabbit's not done.
I'm very serious. People need to start following Flash Delirium. Rabbit. I still haven't read Pop Singer. I apologize, but okay. The premise is great. But Rabbit is my favorite indie book that doesn't have tragedy.
I appreciate it. I think maybe like people got freaked out because like there's a little bit of a racial tension with the story, but that again, like it takes that's almost a misdirect. Like that's really just for his origin. Once we get past that, like we never even go back to that. It
Yeah,
does go in
this
a
isn't a
direction.
social commentary that you're
Yeah,
putting in
no,
this
none of
book.
that. No.
It's just his origin and the place you put him in this world.
Yeah, I'm a grindhouse exploitation horror guy, so a lot of that came just from my love of that era, film and everything. But
Hey,
again, like
Michael.
Rabbit, huh?
I was saying hi to Michael Yakutis. He's here. He's a father
Oh,
of two
Mike.
twins. He's a new father too. So God bless you and your family. Hope all's going
But
well. Michael's a very talented artist and colorist.
I follow him on Facebook. I got so many people I follow. I can't. I'm
Yeah,
trouble with names.
Michael's very talented. He's one of the good guys. He was on I don't know how to pronounce it right. Kaji. But that's a great book by Black Box Comics. Gus Malk drew it, and Michael colored it, I believe. It was a really good book. That was another really good. Yeah, I don't know how you pronounce it though, but that was another really good indie book. That's still going though. Greg Johnson had a question: do most campaigns put the funding number at a break-even dollar figure, or do you set it lower? Now that's a great question. Now there's different thoughts that go into setting the goal number. Some people put it where the print run would be. Some people put it higher as a cushion. But some people, like myself, say put it low. And the reasoning for that is you fund quicker. It bumps you up in the algorithm in Kickstarter. It looks better with people to say you funded in 2 hours. And again, you get bumped up in the Kickstarter algorithm as a successful campaign. Because the thought is, you're going to make the money you're going to make no matter what that goal is, right? If your goal is 5,000, right, you're only going to make 4. Well, then if I put it at 1,500, I was only going to make 4, right? You know what I'm saying? So some people will keep the goal low for those reasons I said, and some people go for what they think they need to make back. I think that's a mistake. If you, like, say your book cost you $4,300 to do, and printing, you average, maybe I'll do 50 to 100 backers, and the printing at $2 and change, blah, blah, blah. Now we're at another like $700, whatever. And you decide, I'm going to put my goal at 5,500, and that'll cover everything and be sure. All right, but it's your first campaign. Do you have enough backers to get you to 5,500? Because if you don't make that goal, you get no money.
That's true.
And you wasted your time. And you have to tell all those backers you fat. So some people just say, no, put it low, and whatever happens, happens. And that's what I do.
No, I agree with that. I mean, even for me, like
Kage. Okay.
At least
no Kage. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, I think I've seen that. I'll look it up when I get offline. But yeah, I mean, at least like I put the goal for like production of book, like go towards production of book. I never look at Kickstarter when we did it the 2 times we did it. Breaking even, I mean, no, never. I mean, that's impossible. I mean, you're never gonna break even with this stuff. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because
people don't get it. More.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at both campaigns that we did, you put the money together, it still wouldn't even. That's not even a 4 of what I put into all these things. So it's always about, for me, production. Just helping production. And if you're lucky enough to do a little bit more, goes into the next book. That's right. Always, it's always about getting the book done and getting the next thing going.
See, I think Kickstarter. And it goes back to what we started this whole show with, right? People they saw the Billy Tucci's and the Van Skyvers and the Politos, and they thought, oh, this is a quick money thing. This is a way to make money and grow an audience. Not realizing that Billy in the Image Boom was putting out monthly books with and he was doing crossovers with Marvel and Top Cow. Not realizing that Polito is also in stores, and Polito's been doing this for 30 years with Evil Ernie and other properties that he no longer has. And Ethan Van Sciver brought his name with him and controversy. So, those are exceptions to the rule. When you see, I mean, if you're not doing a booby book, this is fact. I'm not saying this out of resentment. I don't begrudge anybody. You make that money. If there's a fan market for it, good for them. But if you're not making a booby book on crowdfunding, you're struggling. I've seen booby books that the art was great. It just happened to be a booby book, and the people were writing some sort of story. And then I see books that are blatant, just the story's crap. It's a 15-page book. The art is horrible, and they make $30,000 because people like boobies. Good for them. I have no begrudgment. I don't begrudge them at all. But that's what makes money on crowdfunding right now in comics. You're either a big name or you're putting out boobies. The rest of us are struggling. And there's some great content.
And it's like you said, and this goes for all my friends and people in general who do, who I put out books. Like when people buy these books, nobody's talking about these books. I've yet to see. I mean, I've seen campaigns that do $40,000, $50,000, and I don't hear about these books after that. It's great to support these books, but you got to talk. You got to talk about these books too and share it with people so they know about it. Or what's the point?
But when you go through distribution, how many people stand in a comic store? Oh, I read that new blah, blah, blah. It was really good. And they talk to you. And then you're all standing at the counter talking to the owner, and he's probably rolling his eyes like, oh, God, leave. But, and you've got 2 or 3 guys just or gals or whoever, readers, just chatting about books that they've enjoyed lately. You have a better chance of them talking up your book in a comic store because they're readers.
Yeah, I mean.
They're readers.
And that's the thing about it. I mean, word of mouth goes a long way, I mean, and we see people all the time, they'll spend hours talking about how much they hate She-Hulk or Phase 4 suck, but
they're watching it.
Cool, why don't you talk about that cool indie book that you picked up, or the one you backed on Kickstarter? Talk about that. Make a post about how much you love that, because, if you do that enough, that creates an algorithm, then more people see it.
Well, there's that old saying, people jump on the winners, right? I mean, LeBron James is big because he's a winner, because he's flashy and he's big and he's strong and he does amazing dunks and he's out there. But if you looked at a guy like John Stockton, who was great and talented, but he was more cookie cutter, clean cut, fundamental basketball, he didn't get a lot of, he was respected, but he didn't get a lot of the big fame and the endorsements and the money and all that. People want to gravitate to the stardom, the fame, the boisterous personality, the shining star, not quality.
What's that? I just saw a thing. It's kind of going off topic. On Facebook, that panel, that page of Captain America beating up Black Panther. You see that?
Oh, by the way, yeah, if you look at the next page and you actually read the story, though, they took that out of context.
But. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's what I figured. But I was like, y'all, that one page, y'all focus on, but y'all can talk about some other comic book or something.
I know, right? What's the matter, Bowie? You hungry? Tired?
I think he wants his banky. Mommy, can I get a banky?
Did you poop?
He wants his banky, I think. He slept for 3 hours. I think he's getting he's a little antsy now.
Bowie, can you hear me?
Come on, buddy. Come on, man.
Hey, what's the matter? It's like, give me some food, man.
I gotta eat. You want that?
Okay. That was it.
Maybe we'll see. But yeah, everybody talk about this one page. Man, there's all these books y'all could be talking about, but y'all focus on that. You're still giving you're giving Marvel attention by doing this.
Right. Well, again, just to recap everything, and we'll probably wrap this up shortly. You've got your options, right? You're an indie publisher. If you've just got your one single book, you probably want to do crowdfunding for now, right? Build an audience a little bit. You can make some money. Hopefully it turns around so you can keep producing the book. Fantastic. If you get 5 issues in the bag, maybe you want to go to a small publisher like Scout or Source Point Press, and maybe they'll publish your individual story, and you can get out there through their distribution channels. Maybe you go for Image, the bigger companies, and you see what they have to say, and you go through their distribution. But again, 60% is going to go taken out for distribution, because distribution wants to get paid and the comic store has to get a discount. So they have a markup. And then you're going to get 30% taken from the publisher, and you're going to walk away with 8 to 10% of your own book. But you had to pay for the creative team to keep the creative rights. So you're in the negative. So you're going to have to weather that storm. You're going to have to sell, or you're going to have to sell 20,000 copies out of the gate, and that's not likely to happen for anybody. So there's that. You self-publish, you go through Diamond or Lunar yourself, and yes, you're still paying the 60%. Lunar is less than 60%, mind you. They're less. Diamond takes more. But you're still paying for marketing. You're still paying for your production of your book. You have to meet your deadline, and but you cut out that middleman publisher of that 30%. So that could be an avenue for you, but you still got to sell because you're still going to lose money. You have to sell. If you go to distribution, it's probably better to have at least 2 or 3 titles that will be ready to go, where you can release month apart, 2 months apart, 3 months apart, or even if you do a 5-issue limited thing, you have something to launch next. Because the key is you have to stay in the minds of the people that spend the money. We have short attention spans in this day and age, and we have so much distraction. There's so much out there that can pull your attention away. That's why comics aren't selling like they used to. The highest selling comic is Batman, and I think they do like 134,000 copies. We used to sell 1 million copies, 500,000 copies. 134,000 copies would have been the middle of the road 10, 15, 20 years ago. So that means readership is down. Why? Because there's so much other stuff out there. But manga's doing great. So I know people argue this, but is readership down because you have movies and all this other stuff? Sure. But is it this down for that stuff? Or is it this low because the writing just isn't good in Western mainstream books anymore? Because manga is kicking butt. And I've heard people say that's not true. That's a lie. No, it's true. The sales in manga are high. They're doing very well in their conventions. New York Comic Con, as big and great as that is, if you go to New York Anime NYC, I should say, it's crazy. It's like a cult. It's insane.
It's only gonna get bigger. I'm telling you right now. I'm not gonna say like animes or manga is the future of everything, but it's definitely gonna have a bigger impact over time. It's just wait till they finally figure out how to make a live action movie out of a successful one.
Right. And that's the thing is they're coming up with new and original ideas, and manga, for the most part, it's not activism in the form of entertainment, right? It's just stories. I mean, Chainsaw Man, there's no activism in that. No. There's nobody trying to tell you what to think in that book. It's just all out violence.
Well, the thing about manga is there's so much variety. I mean, you can have a manga about just a guy taking a girl on a date. You know what I'm saying? That's like, people read it. It's just crazy. Like, there's just so many types. Whereas when American books, I don't know, it's weird because like now a lot of the more successful like independent comic books has got more Virgo. Even Image slowly became Virgo, in my opinion. Like with the kind of books they put.
Yeah, I can see that.
But
that begs the other question is, a lot of companies are veering away from superheroes. They don't think that superheroes can sell anymore. They go with, Ice Cream Man and Stray Dogs and more obscure stuff. But then Berserker did well, and that's kind of a superhero book. So I don't know if I buy into that superheroes don't sell. It's a matter of regurgitating the same stuff doesn't sell, right? Or writing poorly doesn't sell. But I think superheroes can still sell. You just have to write. I mean, manga is really a bunch of superheroes. They're powered people, right? They have superpowers. Yeah. They have different abilities. There's sci-fi. So I don't buy into that superheroes don't sell anymore. I just think people are tired of the same old superheroes doing the same old stuff.
Yeah, you just can't do a carbon copy Batman. I mean, that's the thing about you got to do something a little more unique. And there's I've seen a lot of like people try the superhero route, but they're just it's just a Flash version of Marvel and DC, and
right.
That's not gonna get you so far.
Now, Greg does not speak for the panel only because I haven't really thought that far into it, but I've heard this before. He said Polito hasn't put out a good book in 30 years. He's been living off Ultimate Booby character Lady Death and ripoffs of her forever. Again, I can't comment on that because I've never read a Lady Death book ever. I did watch the animated movie. So I don't know. I mean, but the guy is successful, and good
I
for him.
mean,
God bless him. Hey Roy, what's going on? By the way, Roy has a cover coming up for Withered, my book coming out in March.
nice. Hello, Roy.
And Raphael was saying, as well as anime does, manga still does well, but that's because they care about their print market, unlike the American market that just cares about movies and TV shows. There's truth to that too. I think Marvel and DC foolishly thought that they could use the movies to bring people over to reading. Why would I spend $5 on a 17 or 20-page issue after ads of of 2D images when I could spend $12 a month and watch 30, 40, 50 live action movies and animated stories and stuff like that? So I think it backfired. And I think they turned it around now, and they're making the comics the advertisement for the movies, no longer the movies, the comics, the advertisement for the comics. You know what I mean? I think they did start realizing movies aren't bringing new readers to comics, so let's make the comics more like the movies because that'll advertise the movies. But the problem with that is the comic readers, no, they don't want that. They want what the comics gave them because the comics were always better than the movies for us.
Right. But I think another problem, and this is kind of going off topic here with DC and Marvel, there's really no guidance in their universe anymore. Because back in the day,
Right.
like the 90s, when you had an event store, it was an event store like Executioner Song, Days of Future Past, Crisis of Infinite Earths. Those were big major things that we still talk about to this day. When's the last time we had that? The last time Marvel even did anything remotely cool like that, what, World War Hulk, the first Civil War? How long ago was that? DC, there's a mess. Like, no, they tried what heavy metal, whatever that crap was. That was stupid.
Yeah, it wasn't written well.
Then the whole thing, the Batman Who Laughs, which really, he was really just a rip off of Judge Death from Judge Dredd.
I just always wondered how he saw anything when the spike.
Yeah, but the whole thing, but again, like DC is just too Batman oriented now. Like DC's not the Batman universe. Universe is deep Batman.
Because the corporate mindset is that they don't want to take risks. Risks are a possible loss, right? So you go with what's working. Batman's working. Let's ride it until we ride it dry, and then whatever pops up as big, we'll go with next. And that's the way corporations think, which is another reason why you may want to look at going through a third-party publisher versus doing it yourself. You could lose a lot of money doing it yourself. You could lose a lot of money going through a third-party publisher, but at least you have control of your destiny as your own publishing company. And whatever chances you take on your IP, you're going to make the best of them, right?
Correct.
But a corporation, you got this much time to show them it's going to show profit, and you're done.
I agree.
And yes, the movies are where the dollars are right now. I honestly believe, I'm not going to get into other things, but I do believe if it wasn't for the movies right now, Marvel would be bankrupt again, and DC would be bankrupt again. Because even though DC gets flack for being bad movies, everybody's watching them. They're still making money, but they're starting to lose money now. Black Adam underperformed. Marvel's Phase 4 underperformed. I'm not going to get into why I think or anything, but their dollars, if you look, they're underperforming, and Disney is now restructuring things. It's going to trickle down to the comics because, again, it's what I said before. You need multiple revenue streams. Whether it's I have this one comic, but I got a toy line, or I got it on Netflix, or it's I got this comic, and now I've got this comic, and now I've got this comic. Because think about this. I have 3 comics out there. Now, if I had one and it does 500 copies, I'm losing a ton of money, right? If I have 3, one does 500, maybe one does 800, the other one, hey, it did 1,200. I just did 2,000 copies, 2,500 copies on the 3. Well, the money is interchangeable in your own company, right? So you can help fund everything. Now it's 2,500 copies sold a month at $5, not 500. So you need that multiple revenue stream, whether it's multiple issues or other licensed properties or T-shirts or whatever. But when you're a small guy like me or you, T-shirts aren't going to sell. Toys aren't going to be made. Statues aren't going to be made. And Netflix is not coming to save us. So your best option is multiple titles, but they have to be quality and they have to be professional. That's it. Jason, the manga to anime are the same. They don't change it to make it more appealing. Comics movies aren't the comic. I was speaking to my LCS owner, and kids see the MCU movies, come in for the books, but the books don't have the same characters as the movies, or at least didn't at the time I spoke to him. I stopped buying mainstream books a decade ago. Yeah, I stopped buying mainstream. I was a huge Uncanny X-Men fan for 40 something years, and I just don't collect anymore. And it's kind of sad. It's depressing for me. It is. It's just what it is. But I don't want to get off topic into that. This is about crowdfunding's pros and cons and distribution. So we're going to wrap this up by saying, give us the pros of crowdfunding, Chris.
You pretty much, as far as from a financial point of view, there's no middleman outside from just paying a couple little fees to the platform you're pulling from. You're pretty much on all, it's all on you. You're reaching directly to the fans or like to the customer, if you want to call them customers, on these campaigns. So I think that's the biggest thing. It's just you're getting most of the money from just going straight to the crowdfunding campaigns.
I also think you're building, an email list, whether you feel that's beneficial or not. You are getting an email list and means to contact people. And like you said, there's not a lot of heavy lifting with a Kickstarter. I mean, you still have to promote, but putting a page together is really not difficult once you understand it. And it is direct market, right, to people. So I agree. The cons, what would you say are the cons to crowdfunding right now?
The cons are just the time it takes to put the create a campaign, the time to fulfill a campaign, and if you're trying to do an ongoing series, for example, you're not going to get many. You're looking at maybe if you're lucky, 3 books a year. Even with every time about a trade, that's once every 2 years probably. If you're doing like doing like 100 multiple, like several 100-page book. So the time is going to kill you with these campaigns. You're gonna actually limited audience. You're only going to reach a certain amount of people, with a campaign, because a lot of people that buy comics don't go to campaigns. They don't want to spend the money. They want to just buy it in stores. So
I'm going to touch on that. We have a tough economy right now. And if you're a person who likes comics and you see the dynamics for $15 on Kickstarter for 1 book, that's the price of 3 books, and you know that you're not going to get another book for another 3 or 4 months. You're going to go, I'm going to go to the comic store, pick up 3 books for $5 each, because my money goes a longer way. In a bad economy, my money goes a longer way. Or I only have $5 and I want to read a comic, so I can get a book for $5 on the LCS as opposed to 15 on Kickstarter. So I think that's a con. When I say con, I don't mean con job like conniving. I mean it's the opposite of pro, right? It's something that goes against favor. I also think, like you said, limited audience. I think there's also mindsets that are bad. If you don't fulfill, you can't. Nobody's going to back your next campaign, right? If you don't put out, you can't do more than campaign at once. Other cons are it's a saturated market and you're competing against too much. And I honestly don't think you're reaching your demographic as a comic book. When you do a board game on Kickstarter, you're hitting board game people. When you do, I don't know, coffee mugs, you're hitting coffee mug people that want a nice coffee mug, trinket, and drink. When you do comics, are you hitting readers? Or are you hitting cover collectors, booby collectors, big name artist collectors, limited edition run covers? You're getting collectors, you're not getting readers, right? So if I don't have a big name that attracts them for issue 3, but I did for 1 and 2, that guy didn't come back or that woman didn't come back because they're not coming for the reading. They're coming for what the quality, what the aesthetics are. So I think that's the biggest downfall to crowdfunding is I don't think this is a reader for comic books. It's not a reader demographic that you're reaching. It's not. But distribution, it is. Um, so pros for distribution, what would you say?
Pros distribution, you're wider audience. It's a good, it's the best gauge of your a fan base who's actually reading these things. That's the biggest one. Exposure, like I hate to say credibility. Like once you get proper distribution, it's probably easier to get into get some media coverage on you.
Mm.
That's my immediate answer. I'm pretty sure it's more as I can think of at the moment.
Yeah, all that you said. Again, there's that perception that you made it and you're legit with distribution. You are reaching a large audience. You're reaching your target audience of readers, although there is still a lot of competition out there. LCS are more likely to take you in their stores, knowing that you're coming back next month with an issue 2, issue 3, things like that. Going through distribution, you can have a snowball effect and continue, especially if you have an ongoing series and it's out more frequently, which just the more you're in somebody's face, the more they're going to either give it and buy or feel interested, I mean, it's just a fact. The downsides, the cons to distribution are it's very hard financially. And you have to meet those deadlines monthly. It's very demanding. And you have to convince comic shop owners still to pick up your book, and then you have to hope that people buy it from the comic shop. So it's a large risk. There's a big. It's one of those things where it's a huge risk with the potential of huge reward, but it also has the potential of huge failure. It's going to be one or the other. There's no middle ground with distribution. Either you're going to make the money or you're going to lose the money, and that's it.
Right. I agree. I'm going to ask them. Can I add something else to this?
Yeah.
And this is another big one. This is pretty much as any industry, but comic books are funny in a way that if your book doesn't work right now, let's say, whether it's crowdfunding or if you got distribution and the book just didn't work out, doesn't mean the book sucks or is a failure. I mean, it could take time. Your book could be a hot book 5 years from now.
Right.
It's one of those weird things. You just never know with comic books.
And that's the other thing is we're a country of fads, right? You gotta hit lightning in a bottle. You gotta catch on at the right time. You could have an awesome book about wrestling, but wrestling isn't popular right now. But maybe something happens in wrestling or a big name like another Hulk Hogan or Stone Cold whatever, and all of a sudden wrestling's booming again and their fanship grows, and now all of a sudden your book is a hit. So I agree with that. Absolutely. Now, what are the pros of self-publishing and what are the pros of going through a third-party publisher, that has like a legitimate publisher?
Well, as far as like the pros of doing a self-publishing is the money. Like, if it works out, you can be very well off because again,
cut out the middleman.
Yeah, there's no middleman. There's no royalties, none of that. It's all you. But it's a double-edged sword. The cons obviously to that is, money, right? You got to, you're gonna be in the red you could be in the red for a very long time.
Right.
The pros to a third party is there is that safety net of or a cushion that they're going to cover. More than likely, they're going to cover at least the printing costs. So you're only responsible for producing the book.
Well, you pay back those printing costs with publishers, but they front. They front it.
Yeah, front and all. Front and off, so you got to worry about that immediately.
And you're guaranteed to have a distribution outlet.
Right.
You're not guaranteed that as a self-publisher, but you are guaranteed that as distribution, with them.
And some promotion. Obviously, image being on the cover of your book alone, that's going to be 80% of your promotion right there. In their catalog, you're probably get a little bit of press release, coverage and all that kind of stuff. That's the big thing, though. Just that, you're guaranteed distribution, and going into it, you don't have to worry about the printing costs immediately. But again, you're going to be in the red for a while with these people.
Yeah, you've got to sustain the losses for a while. And I want to remind you, if you wanted to open up a deli, a comic store, whatever, you have to invest capital first. You have to get $60,000 to $80,000, whether it's a loan or whatever, to get that store and ready to open, right?
That's
And
right.
then you got to hope customers come through. And you know what? The average business doesn't break even until 3 years and doesn't start making money until after that. So you have to be willing to weather the storm of loss of money. If you think you're supposed to make money right away, you don't understand how business works. You don't.
Yeah, I
You're
mean,
investing the first 3 years.
I'll use myself an example. Rabbit, Pop Singer, that the first Pop Singer and Rabbit issue 1 and 2, that was all out of pocket. Pop Singer was me just working my day job and just sacrificing like $50 a week or $100 a week, putting it to the side and just paying for the book as I could. And
Right.
over a few months, Pop Singer was done. I did the same thing at Rabbit until we came into a little bit of extra money that we could put into the actual finishing off the production of book issue 1 and 2. But starting off, I was piecing it together, and that was all out of pocket. So
I know it's a struggle, and we do it because we love it.
yeah.
Now, what are the cons to self-publishing? Whether you're doing crowdfunding and or distribution, what are the downsides to self-publishing?
Again, aside from this financial loss, is just nobody knows who you are. You know what I'm saying? You really got to build that following and get your name out there. Because if you're doing if you're self-publishing, doing all yourself, there's no marketing behind you. There's nobody. You have to get out there and really hustle this thing. Whether that's getting on Facebook, starting a YouTube channel, going to comic book conventions, being on the corner of the street with the signs and read my book for free. There's a lot of stuff. You're at the very bottom of the barrel. When you're trying to do it self-publish, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be days you're going to want to quit. That's going to be another day. I have yet to see somebody who's done self-publishing who does not get discouraged with this. To the point like fuck this, I don't want to do it anymore.
Right.
So there is that.
Yeah, I think cons are everything you said, as well as you have to upfront all the money up front. There's no cushion. There's no help. And you have to gain the trust of the comic shops to want to order your stuff and the fans to want to buy it, where there's no brand behind you that has already earned that trust. The cons to a third-party publisher, I would say, are obviously the extra money that they take. You're dependent and reliable on them because think about it. As that publisher, if they don't like your art, you have to change the artist. You may be in charge of the creative team and you may be paying for the team, but they're in charge of what it looks like. It's their publishing company. So you lose certain autonomy in decision. There's always the threat of being the plug pulled before you want it to end. You may want to give it one more try, but if they don't want to do it, they don't want to do it. But when you're self-publishing, I'm going to give it one more shot, right? It's your own money. This downside is the percentage they take out. The downside is they don't want an ongoing series. They don't.
That's a big one.
Yeah, and those would be the downsides. Now, my conclusion is, however you want to go should be based on your goal. Are you long-term? Is this a hobby? Are you just getting out some ideas? Do you want to make a publishing company or just one title? One book successful? Are you looking to expand your audience? Are you content with your audience that you have? How much work and investment do you want to put in this financially, time-wise, energy, etc.? And how good do you think your product is? And are you here to get your story out there or to just make money? Those are big questions you have to answer. How much autonomy do you want to have? How much control do you want to have? How much do you want to relinquish? These are things you have to decide. I don't think there's any wrong way to go. But I do think there's the wrong way to go based on your goals. So you have to evaluate what those are. Maybe, like I said, if you're not ongoing and you have a 5-issue arc, it's completed, and Diamond turned you down, you just can't get distribution. Absolutely, go talk to Scout, go talk to SourcePoint Press, right? They'll get you out there in distribution. Absolutely. If you're an ongoing like me and you want total autonomy, self-publish. I'm not going through a third publisher. I don't want that. I feel the product is quality. I think the story is quality. I think I don't want to relinquish any of the tell me who my artist is going to be or my letter or whatever, and my colorist. Not that I think that I have an issue with them because they're all great, but I think I can handle that deadline. I know I can handle the deadline, keep the schedule. I know I can. And I'm already putting things into place to make sure Ricardo feels no pressure and he's ready to go. And just wait. But at the end of the day, all I would say is no matter what you're doing, when those moments creep in that make you self-doubt and think this is too hard, hard is okay. Too hard is a matter of how much you want to put into it. Okay? Because everything's hard. But when you say it's too hard, what you're saying is it's more than I really want to invest. That's what I'd say. Because for me, is this going to be hard? Damn, Skippy. Is it too hard? No. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to make it happen. And I'm going to bring everybody I can along with me. And I would just say don't quit because you're discouraged. You quit if you just don't want to do it anymore, but don't quit because you're discouraged or feeling down. You take those moments, you want to self-pity for 5-10 minutes, okay, but then you get your butt up and you figure out what to do next. Spend your energy productively. How am I going to turn this around? It's not fair. Life isn't fair. We all know that. If it was fair, we wouldn't be looking at some of these people living the life of luxury while we struggle.
You really got that
but
right.
Fair is a mindset. Some people think I have a great life and they have a shitty life and they wish they had my life, and it's not fair. It's all relative. Just keep plugging along, guys. Life is geology. It's time and pressure. You give it enough time and you apply enough pressure and you can break through. Water can erode rock. If water can erode rock with enough time and pressure, we got this. And if your product isn't good enough, don't get mad. Get better. That includes me. If someone says tragedy is good, but you know what, this needs work, okay, let's do it. You just, that's it. Life is about growing and being better tomorrow than you are today. And whether you go through distribution, crowdfunding, both, I guess the three things I would say are believe in yourself, believe in your product, put the 4 things, put that effort in, work, know that you're going to have to bleed, you're going to have to sweat, you're going to have to cry, and you're going to have to sacrifice. And here's the last thing. Fortune favors the bold. Take risks. If you're surrounded by people that don't want you to take any risks and they want you to play it safe, those people are never going anywhere, and neither are you.
That's right.
Now, take reasonable risks. But once in a while, you got to take the big one. But use proper judgment, but you got to take risks. You don't take risks, you have no shot. You look at every big name out there, and they'll tell you that, you may think they fell into it. They didn't. Or they did. But you know how they fell into it? Because fortune favors the bold. They put themselves in the position to let luck smack them in the face. Because they took the chance. That rock musician who slept out of his car and ate ramen noodle or crap for 5 weeks, working dives, he put himself in a position to win. He put himself in a position to get luck smack him right on his butt. So take the risk. Don't be afraid. If you're afraid of looking bad or afraid of quote unquote failure, you already lost. I'm not afraid of any of that. I'm not afraid to come out here and tell you the Dynamics hasn't even funded yet. It's doing terribly. My campaign's doing terribly. I'll be honest with you. Look, you don't know. You look at it. You're not going to sit there and go, wow, Tragedy does $13,000 and this thing's at $1,058. What's going on here? Of course you see. I'm not stupid, and you're not stupid. I'm not going to talk to you like you're stupid. I'm not here about image. I'm not here about pretending what I am. I'm struggling. I'm busting my ass just like you, but I'm going to make it. And it doesn't matter, this Dynamics campaign, because you know what? Then I'll throw it in distribution and give it a shot out there. I don't care. I'll move forward. I will continue. I will change the plan because insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So if it didn't work, find another way. I always believe Captain Kirk. I don't believe in a no-win scenario. The people who believe in a no-win scenario are the ones who think that it's all or nothing. If I lost my arm doing something, but I succeeded at that doing something, I made a sacrifice, but I won. If you think winning is being unscathed, you have no idea what winning is. Because even when you win the basketball championship, how many hits did you take? How many bloody noses, broken bones, torn muscles throughout the season? You're always going to have those. But you're holding a trophy. And it makes all that pain go away. So you can always win. I don't believe in a no-win scenario. You'll find a way if you really want it. And when I go to distribution, if I am lucky and I hit a high print run and I go, oh crap, I don't have the money, I'm not going to poop myself. I'm going to sit down and go, all right, where am I getting this money? And I'm going to find a way. And I'm going to make it happen. Because there's no tomorrow. And that's my spiel. Chris, I want you to plug everything going on because I am telling everybody right now, follow this guy. Rabbit's Badass Song is a great book. I love this book. I love this book very much. I believe in this book very much, and you're going to find out how much I believe in it eventually. But I'm just telling you, you're missing out. Go to Christopher, find out his website, go buy it off the website. This book should be flying off the shelves. If this book had an image label on it, it would be a huge seller. You know, people read Southern Bastards, right? Remember? You know that book, Southern Bastards?
Oh, yeah. I had a few issues of it.
This isn't like Southern Bastards, but at the same time, it was down south. There were racists. There was things goes on, and nobody bat an eye. This book has an origin story that deals with racists down south, but that's not where this story's going. Just trust me. This book is well written, well illustrated, flows really well. The characters are interesting. The dialogue is well written. It is not a poorly written book. It is a really good book. It's a great book. You have to go buy it. I stand by it. Go to his website, Flash Delirium. Give us the website when I'm done shooting my mouth off. And you go pick up Rabbit's Badass Song issues 1 and 2, and you pre-order issue 3. You will not be disappointed. I put my stamp on that. Now tell us, where are we going to get this book and everything else?
I appreciate the kind words. So the website, actually, we had to shut it down because I told you about it. They got compromised, so I had to
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
But there's a couple ways you can get in touch. I'm really mostly on my YouTube channel now, which is Flash Delirium Team. Just remember that, Flash Delirium Team. You can find us. Or you can just hit me up on my Facebook, Elston _Christopher. And if you guys are interested in the book, hell, I'll even, send you a PDF of issue 1 if you just want to read it. Just hit me up, private message me. I'll put my email address down in the comments.
Yeah.
You guys can contact me and stuff. So I'm pretty much on everything. I'm on Twitter and all that.
Just remember on Facebook, he reverses his name. It's Elston Christopher on Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah, I did because there's a lot of Christopher Elstons on here. I thought I was the only one in the world. But no, like I said, I'll put when we end this live feed, I'll put in comments how they can reach me. But definitely on my YouTube channel. If you guys like horror and stuff, we're gonna be doing a lot of horror stuff this year. So definitely check, follow me on there. We got some good stuff lined up. So that's all I got.
Awesome. I'm gonna address a few comments. Sean, I'm sorry about your disability and limiting your income, but I will tell you, time and pressure. Maybe it takes you 5 years to get the money up for a book, saving $5 a week, $5 a month, but you can do it. It may not be in the time frame you want it to be, but it can still happen. So don't lose sight of that, and don't be discouraged. All right? Because you know what? Going down a road that had bad weather and falling trees and potholes, when you get to your destination, you earned it and you feel so much better for it, and no one can take that from you. So just remember that. Put $1 away even. Or next time you go to buy a Snickers or you go to buy a Happy Meal, make that your comic book fund. You can find a way. If you need help with a Kickstarter, I'll help you. Joe Ryan. I've been listening to this whole conversation as an upcoming indie creator. I find this stream very informative. Thank you both for providing cold, hard facts. Right. I hope we did. I know we went off on a tangent a little bit there, but I hope we kind of gave you some info. Chris, Phil, even though you have 26 books mapped out, would you consider doing a 5-book arc to get distribution? Okay, so I can get distribution. I'm pretty confident, despite it being an ongoing series. But I do have 2 miniseries that might be 5 to 7 issues that I'm going to write. I write for what I have in me. And if a story really can be told in that short time, then that's when I tell it, and that's it. I have a few one-shots coming out too, because that's all they needed to tell the story. So I have actually a mix of everything. I have one-shots, I have 5 to 7 issue miniseries, and I have ongoing series. So just stay tuned and you'll see. What's hindering me right now is not having distribution, but that's going to be in the works. Everything takes time. People don't understand. I've been planning things out for a while. You know, some people are like, oh, how did you do $10,000 on your first campaign? You came out of nowhere. I did not come out of nowhere. You just didn't know me. I've been here a while. I've been observing. As much as I shoot my mouth off, I study, I learn, I watch, I pay attention. I've learned a lot from a lot of people that know a lot. I've grown as a person in this industry because of the people I've learned from. I'm not new. Look at me. I'm old. I'm new to you. But anyway, Greg said, go full-blown Lennon. John Lennon, there are no problems, only solutions. I agree. There are problems that people create, but again, if we focus on the solutions, those problems go away. This is the year of Philbo. You better believe it. Put your money on it. You don't back Dynamics, don't worry about it. Withered is coming. Tragedy 5 is coming. Tragedy trade paperback is coming. Tragedy manga is coming. Diary of Dread is coming. I have Tragedy villain one-shots coming. I have more crap coming than you can imagine. And you're either going to love it or you're going to have plenty of toilet paper. But whatever.
I'm excited about the manga one. That looks really good.
Yeah, Kenny's kicking ass. Guys, I say this all the time. It's not a big investment to just take $15 a week and pick an indie book to support. Don't tell me you don't have the money. You just don't have the desire. Because all the people saying that spend $300 in cigarettes. They go to the bar every week and spend $300 in beers, or they'll go buy a toy, or they'll spend their money on a booby book, or they'll spend their money on a Happy Meal that was $15 now, or a Starbucks cup of coffee. I'm not telling you how you should spend your money. I'm just saying, please don't give us the excuse that you don't have it. You have it. We're just not where you want to spend it. So all I'd ask you is, give it a shot. Give it a try. That's all I'm asking. Give us a shot. Put your trust in us for at least one book, and you never know what you might find. But if you don't take the shot, you may be missing some great stuff. Jason says his book is more satisfying than OnlyFans. And I'm going to tell you about Jason Meadows. He does his Tales from Neurosville. He has 3 books out right now. He's doing another 3 books. Very cleverly written. All of them have twists that you don't see coming or ironies in them. Very well-written books. I enjoy them. They're really good. You should really check them out. And there'll be more on that soon enough. I don't know who this guru person is, and I don't know what that's saying, but I'm not about to find out. It looks like stupid solicitation with all the little icons in the middle there. Just Just know that your $15 or your $20 makes the world of difference in people that are working so hard on the side of their day jobs to try to get their dreams to come true. And you know what you're also doing? And this may sound corny, but it's true. When you make Christopher Elston and Phil Russert successes by supporting and backing us, those kids that we hold in our arms are learning that you can too go grab life with both hands if you work hard. You're helping us teach them that. And that's really why I'm doing this. That's the truth. I have words on my kids' walls that talk about dream big, princess. No, don't dream big. Do big. I don't want them to just be words on a wall. I want my kids to see it. And if they can see that daddy can do it, then they're going to grow up knowing they can do it. And they're going to grab this life with both hands, and they're going to grab it, and they're going to take what they want out of life with integrity, and they're going to be happy, and they're going to be successful. But I got to show them. Can't just tell them. I got to show them. Help us show them. Speaking of which, perfect. Kitten. Come say hi. Look at his baby. You want to see Bowie? Here's his new baby. He's 3 months old. You see him there?
He's knocked out right now.
Yeah, he can't move him because he's going to wake him, but look at him. He's adorable. Look at him. Little baby. How cute is he? Just wait till they get to this age. You know, the law won't let you lock him in a closet.
He's out right now.
Yeah, he's working that binky, though, whatever you call it.
Yeah, he loves this thing.
People don't understand what it's like to get an email notifying us of another back or a sale. That one more means so much, can absolutely make a creator's day. It really is true. It is true. And just so you know, Christopher and Chastity, his wife, work hard at this, and they take care of their newborn, and they work their jobs, and they do this because they love it. What better people to support than people that love what they're putting out there? Not a corporation that's just trying to saturate the market and get your dollar. We want you to love what we're doing. You know, we need your money just to keep doing it. None of us are looking to get rich. We just want to be able to do what we love and keep doing it. What better place to spend your money? Anyway, all right. I don't know what Guru's saying. If you could say it in English, maybe I won't delete what you're doing. But right now, I see hieroglyphics and a lot of weird emojis. So I don't know what that is.
Uh-oh.
Anyway, my promise, WhatsApp and call. Yeah, I don't know what the hell that is, but I tried to erase it and it came back, and now it doesn't give me an option to delete it. Whatever. Guys, thanks for coming out and hanging out with us. We hope that it was entertaining and maybe informative to you. If you have any other insights you want to throw in the chat after, that's fine. Or if you want to DM me and tell me I'm an idiot, I don't know what I'm talking about, that's fine too. I don't care. But that's it. God bless Bowie. And I wish Flash Delirium all the success in the world. Chris is a good man. Chris and Chastity are good people, and they put out a great book, Rabbit's Badass Song. I'm telling you, I'm not making this up. Rabbit's Badass Song and Tragedy. Go buy them both. By the way, I got to do something with that crossover print that I had made.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day, too.
Yeah, I got the two of them thanks to Ricardo. All right, guys. I'm going to leave you with what I always leave you with. And what do I always leave people with? You don't know, Christopher, because you never watched my show, but I'm going to remind you.
I watched some of them. Okay.
Be legendary and have fun storming the castle.